This is the game I'm making about caves, and this is devlog 1. In this devlog, I'm going to be programming the procedural generation, the entity, and the main menu. So stay tuned, or should you? The first thing I did was create a base plate. And then I added this cave because I first wanted to get the style done before I get the programming done. And then I deassembled everything because it was so fun to make, but not because I put everything in reverse. This is not realistic enough for me, that's why I added lens flare and volumetric lighting. Both of these scripts were about 200 lines of code. In the future, I'm going to improve the lens flare because it has some problems. And if you didn't notice already, I improved the lighting. And then I improved it again, and also added rain. And if I get one comment that this looks bad, I'm going to improve the lighting again. Graphics are good and all, but do not give any gameplay. So I started by adding the procedural generation. If I add procedural generation, it will mean that every time you play, there will be a different map. I started by making a few rooms. I made this big room, this hallway, this campfire room, this downward hallway, and also this left turn. And then I saved the position where the room starts, where the room ends, and also where items spawned. And with this data, I can make a script to move the new room start position to the old room's end position. But there's a problem. When it generates a turn a few times, it could generate into itself, what breaks the whole procedural generator. To fix this, I added a feature that it will check if something is in front. And if something is there, it will generate a dead end, but if not, it will generate more. And after a week of programming, I got the procedural generation working. It has some problems, but it still works. And this is totally not a asbestos cave. The game would be boring without the entity, that's why it's time to add one. So the first thing I did was add dummy.
Hello!
The only problem is, dummy is kinda stupid. And he can't walk. So to give dummy some intelligence, I created a script. And after a day of programming, this is what I made. Well, dummy is still pretty stupid, that's why I needed to program more. The first thing I did was place a few parts. And with these parts, I can make a script that will move dummy to the nearest part. But there's a problem. If there's a wall in between dummy and a part, he could walk into it and not be able to continue. To counteract this, I send a line from dummy's head to the part, and if it doesn't collide with anything, it means that the path is clear. And if dummy sees a player, he will attack it. And after 4 days of programming, I got the AI working. You can't play a game without a main menu, that's why it's time to add one. The first thing I did was copy some rooms to act as the background for the main menu. And then I saved the position where cameras should be in the main menu. And with this data, I made a script to move the player's camera to a random position every 10 seconds. And to make it more cinematic, I added camera bobbing. I was too lazy to make a main menu, so I took one from the toolbox. That was a joke, the real menu looks like this. I didn't yet finish the shop and feedback, but in the next devlog I'll finish it. But it's not the end of the video yet, there's a bonus. I added this dynamic camera bobbing what works in first person and in third person. This was a little bit bland, that's why I added animations and directional movement. And I also added this dynamite what can destroy the wooden planks. And that's the end of the video. December is complete. If you're interested in testing the game, I made a dev forum post, what's in the link in the description.